Hello, beautiful moms and entrepreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. This is a place where we come together to learn, grow, and inspire. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, and I'm your host, and I have a question for you. Are you wondering how you could possibly have passive income or you can create legacy wealth? Well, Tara Zaluski is our guest today, and she's actually going to talk about that. And she is changing an entire community. So without further ado, Tara, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
So I am Tara Zaluski, and I also invest in real estate like Charisse. And we are actually within a community. This is a newer venture for us the last couple of years where we're trying to not only revitalize the community, but we're getting in there and educating them about passive income, generational wealth, things of that nature, starting all the way at high school grade levels, and then just also getting into the community as well.
I absolutely love that because there is this sometimes with when you say you're a real estate investor. What is the attitude or reaction that you sometimes get from people?
That I'm a wholesaler and I'm going to lowball them on their house, and I'm not really buying it, because wholesalers are typically middlemen. So there's a lot of negativity, I think, behind it, and not realizing how much truly goes into a house and what it takes to renovate a house, how much money it costs to actually renovate. Get it, what people are thinking when you do give them these offers, but in reality, there's not like this big margin when you're running an entire company.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't think people understand the risk either. I have this historic home that 1898 is the year. It's going to need a lot of work. And you're absolutely right. People are not aware of the work, the time, and by the time you're done, is it worth making $10,000 for all of this heartache? No, it's not. So there is a lot of education, but I love that you're going into schools and you're talking to teenagers and other people. So let's talk about that for a minute. And what are you doing to educate the community?
So I have gotten into the high school, kind of trying to make a partnership with them basically to get in there consistently, right? Because one time is not going to teach these kids about passive income or credit, budgeting, how to buy a house, generational wealth. And even that, I think, scares people when you say generational wealth. So I always like to explain that a little bit of in a community where some of these people have never owned a home, nobody in their family. So I'm meeting these people where they're at in the sense of you can create generational wealth by just buying a house, being the first person in your family to buy a home that then you can pass on to your future generations, right? So it doesn't mean you have to be a millionaire or buy all these houses like we do or anything, right? It's really figuring out where are you at, what are your goals, what are your dreams, and like how can I help you get there faster than I did? Because this is something still in the United States, as far as I'm aware of, in our communities, it is not mandatory. They're not teaching financial literacy. This school particularly, they said that they did just enforce that, and the teacher said that she still doesn't have a curriculum, right? So she's just going off of books and different things that she's pulling in, but there's still no curriculum for this. And it's one of the life skills, in my opinion. I wish I would have known this, and maybe I wouldn't have taken it all in, but at least if I would have got some type of basis, maybe it wouldn't have took me so long to get to where I'm at today. So that's my biggest struggle, and just why aren't we teaching this? Being able to have passive income and not have to work for the rest of your life, literally until you die, and setting yourself up for success. I mean, to me, that's foundational, right? Isn't that the goal? Get the freedom, spend more time with your family and the things that you love and enjoy.
No, I totally agree with you. And my kids did take financial literacy classes, but what did they learn? They didn't learn the stock market. They didn't learn about real estate. They didn't learn about how your time for money and you trade it. So some people are okay with $10 an hour, $17 an hour, $23 an hour, and they're okay with that time for money. But let's fast forward to 40 years, and now they're possibly making $35 to $40 an hour. That's not enough to cut it, and especially in this day and age. And so there has to be a different way. And my parents, the generation before that, the mom stayed home, the dad went to work. That's not really even feasible in this world. In my market, you have to make $180,000 to live in a $500,000 home. That it doesn't, it's not going to happen. And so you have a lot of people that are just struggling because of that. So if you can introduce things like what you're doing, that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. And I think what you just said resonates because our market is a very affordable market. Pittsburgh, I
Mhm.
think it's one of the most affordable cities to live in. But I do know just in a year it jumped from 75,000 to now having to make 110,000, I believe it is, in a family just to be able to afford an average home, not a $500,000 home. Like that's just very average, probably a 200,000, maybe 250 home. So that to me is just eye-opening, right? Like you said, there is no more really one income households or even possible anymore these days. So I just think it's really important that, people are taught. To me, like I said, these are life skills. And I think these are the things that should be taught, not in the sense, because if we also think about school was created because they were creating factory workers, right? And that's why school was created, to be in that environment and train kids to then be able to work in factories. And that's not what I want to train my kids. I don't know about other people, and I'm not judging anyone. I know that college is necessary for certain things, but I think it's very limited on what that's necessary for. And you can become an entrepreneur, you can go to trades and make well over six figures. There's just a lot of options where you don't have to go to school, then to graduate, then to go back to school, then to graduate, and then you're in all this debt. I mean, I just think there's a lot of options that aren't really being put out there for kids still to this day. So,
Yeah, and I mean, I could give you example after example. I was talking with somebody that they're looking at doing multifamily because I'm getting into that a lot now. And in Texas, which is, if you were to look at the housing prices in Texas, it's super affordable, like crazy affordable for the size that it is. Like a house the size there would be well over $1 million here in Utah. But there, I mean, it could be 500,000, 600, and so it's great, right? But he was telling me how near Texas A&M, he's looking to do an apartment building, and so he's charging students $1,300 for a room. I'm like, huh? I mean, how do you even afford that? And so let's not even talk about the cost of tuition. It's the cost just to live there on campus. And again, I have not vetted this at all. So it could be a little lower, but it really was crazy. And you think about with college tuition, people are graduating, they're going to make $40,000 a year and they have $200,000 in debt. And that's real. I have a client like that right now. And I'm thinking you will never be out of debt because you don't make enough. And so it's really sad to me. And if people could understand how real estate works, we were able to take ourselves from $400,000 in the hole and in 4 years pay that completely off and have multiple homes to show for it after that. Like, what other industry does that? None.
none. And I think that's why they say 90% of millionaires have done so through real estate.
Yeah. Yep. 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 So let's talk about you. How did you transition from being a single mom to running a construction and real estate business?
So I always wanted to do real estate, and I had owned cell phone stores and put that off for about 8 years. So this is another reason why I love talking to people, because it's like, don't put it off, go after it. Don't either sit in comfortability or live in fear, whatever it may be. You need to just like, imperfect action is better than no action. And that's where you really start to learn, right? So from that, I basically got divorced and started pursuing what I had wanted to pursue for the last 8 years.
I laughed, because so did I.
Yeah. So I bought a duplex, lived in one side, rented out the other, got that experience through selling the home through the divorce. I also got some confidence because I had renovated the home pretty much from top to bottom while I was living in it, and it sold for like multiple offers in like a couple of days or whatever it was. Um, So between those things, that's what propelled me into deciding to do real estate. And then through doing real estate, me and my brother partnered up, did it together. And our first flip, we did all the work ourselves as we worked full time and realized very quickly, like, this doesn't work. This took us 5 months and we literally killed ourselves working all day, working at night. We
Mhm.
made, like, as you said, when you go back to those budgets, we made $25,000 on that renovation, which took us 5 months, right? So then divide that by five, divide that by two people. We're making a little over $2,000 a month.
Mhm.
Like, you can't live off that. And so we realized very quickly we need to hire contractors.
Mhm.
And our second flip, we thought we had good people, like you said, networking, going through these investor things, and end up losing $10,000 on that project. So that's where the construction company came in. Not that anyone needs to do this. I'm not saying it was the right way, but for us, we just said, we're just going to open our own so that we can train the guys, hire them, make sure that they're holding integrity, doing the work right. So we don't have to worry about this in the future of who's doing the work. Is it right? Did they put something behind the wall? Something that's going to come up in an inspection? You never know. So that's kind of what we did.
I love that. So you don't hear about that a lot. So now I have to ask more questions because I'm intrigued. Did you hire a licensed contractor? Did you become the general contractor? How did you do your construction business?
Yeah, so my brother became registered with the state here to be the licensed contractor per se and oversee all the projects. He worked with the guys though too. He was doing the work right alongside with them and training them. And not that they didn't have any experience, but he just wanted to make sure everything was done correctly. So that's where that came in. So we built up those teams. And the people I hired, I would always ask them, which is a typical question, what do they want to do in the next 5 years? But it was because wanted to see who wanted to start their own businesses. So pretty much most of the guys I hired all wanted to start their own businesses. So that allowed us to then transition them over because we knew we weren't going to continue with construction.
Mhm.
We wanted to do the investing exclusively. So we actually helped them get their LLCs after working with us. And now they have their own businesses. And then they had the opportunity to continue working with us and not really having to market themselves because, we were feeding them the work. Or they could also get their own jobs. We didn't care either way because we just had that mindset of like we want everyone to win and like follow their dreams. So it was just really neat to be able to like hire them, train them, teach them, then help them get their own LLCs. And now they're running still to this day their own construction companies.
That is so cool. So how
Mhm.
many houses do you rehab a year?
So I think we did 16 last year. And we try to buy 3 to 4 a month, but I'm telling you, for us, it has been really, really difficult in this market.
Mhm.
We just haven't been able to like, find them. We're ready, we're funded,
Mhm.
but we can't get enough.
Right. That is difficult. And I mean, Utah, it is hot. You have so many different people that are doing it. And so it can be very difficult. And they're out there, but yeah, it's tough. So, what are some of the things that you wish you would have known starting out that you know now?
So I think it goes back to the construction company thing. We didn't really need to start a construction company, but I guess that was just our path. So I feel like you don't need to have a real estate license. You don't need to have a construction company. You just really need to network and have really good relationships. And I would say not just networking in somebody's recommending somebody because it may just be a friend, but try to find those people that actually have used these people in the past and have a good relationship with them because that's what we've ran into is people just recommending friends and not ever really using them or knowing what their quality of work was, and that can get a little sticky sometimes.
It 100% can. This is what happened to the person that's been doing this for a year is he used friends. This was his first project. Had I known that, he kind of alluded that this wasn't, but had I known that, I would never have invested because people, You do not want to be the guinea pig to people learning how to do it the hard way. So anyway, it's tough. So how do you, because I've been there where my husband was working full time, he was in school full time, we were flipping, and I was dealing with all 6 kids. It's hard to have a balance. So how do you balance that, the personal growth, your family, your business, all together?
So I think sometimes there just isn't balance. And I just think that's the way it goes. You know what I mean? And I've noticed that the ebbs and flows now after, 6 years of this is just sometimes you're going to be heavily weighted maybe on the business side, right? And you're not spending a lot of time with your family and different things. And I think that's just what's required sometimes is you have to put in the work to get to where you want to go because then that is going to give you the freedom. Once you continue having processes, systems put in place, you're getting the right people in the right seats and you build that like fantastic team, that's where you continue to get your freedom, which is what I feel like I'm getting now, even though I still get pulled back into things that I don't want to be doing or don't think I should be doing because you have to look at too, like what is your dollar amount, right? What is your hourly rate? And that can be whatever it is, $100 an hour. Some people are 1,000, some people are 20,000. You have to look at that stuff and really figure out how to delegate it. If it is something that's like $10 an hour and you're doing right and you're $100 an hour or whatever. So to me, I don't think there's ever full balance. I think you grow to having more balance and being able to have that freedom and setting your schedule and all that. But I do think there's a period of time of where you have to get there.
Yeah, and it's true. And I cannot emphasize enough that your dollar amount per hour. Can a VA do this while you're working on trying to find more deals? And the answer is usually yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what was interesting? I just listened to a podcast of a girl who doesn't even live in the state that she is flipping in. And she said that it was actually better for her because now it forced her to
Oh,
delegate these things because she's not there, which I thought was very interesting. And I was like,
yeah.
that probably would work really well for us too. Because sometimes when you're in it and right next to it, like we are and you are, right? You're right in your hometown. You involve yourself in things that you probably don't need to be involved in or somebody else could do better.
Yeah, no, that's true. As long as you do enough research and you find the people and boots on the ground that you can trust. 100%. Yep,
Mhm.
that's so true. So what are some things like systems that you've implemented in your business now to where you're getting a steady flow of leads and you have a process from here's from the very beginning, we're under contract till we close?
So we actually use a system called Asana, and it's a task management software. And that is what allows our whole team to stay connected. So what we've done is built out workflows. So everything's already there. Everything has dates because it's already pre-put in there. And no, it's not exact. It's never going to be exact. Sometimes you're going to have a closing in 14 days, 30 days, 45 days. It just depends on the deal. So it's all those averages are in there for you to keep you on track and on task. And then obviously you just go in and change as needed if something gets pushed or if something's closing quicker. But that's kind of how I have been able to keep our whole team connected. Everyone is assigned to their tasks, so everyone knows what they're doing. Like I said, it sends reminders. You have those due dates. So that for us has been a game changer. And then I would say the other thing is, as you stated, VAs. We use a VA for all of our property management. Obviously, she's not out showing houses or anything like that, but she is handling everything else, communication, maintenance, calls, leasing, everything property management that you can do on a computer, she is handling. And I might add, she's doing an amazing job at it. And she costs way less than the people here in the US. And I would say she works way harder. So that's another thing, as we already discussed, you're going to kiss a lot of frogs before you find the right one for sure. So I'm not saying any of this stuff is easy or it's not going to take time. It really truly does to find the right people to put in the right seats. But those have been the two biggest things is like hiring VAs, virtual assistants, and then just making sure we have our systems and processes and SOPs all in order. And like I said, assigned to whoever they need to go to.
That's beautiful. That could be a business right there with all the real estate investors just creating the systems and say, here's my plug and play. That would be a a very lucrative company right there. Just saying.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you because contractors and different people just don't have that mindset, and that's okay. We're all different for a reason, and they have a lot of trouble being able to, keep their jobs on task because of that fact. They're learning the work, they're not figuring out how to do it, how it works the best, and all these different things, I feel like.
So true. Well, if somebody wanted to find you, how would they do that?
Just my name, Tara Zaluski. I'm on all the social media platforms, and I also have a website, which is rtz.one.
Nice. And do you help people do this then? Or, I mean, are you coaching people or are you trying to find more properties?
We are currently just trying to refine. So now that we've been doing this for a while, we're figuring out what properties really aren't measuring up to where we want them to be. So this year's been the year of we're getting rid of 15 properties. We're only bringing in multi-units this year. So it's just been really about refining what are we doing, what makes sense, and then also we're only flipping houses. So that's been our year. I'm not coaching yet at this point. It is something that's on the list because I do have people asking me all the time, can you teach me how to do this? And I just don't want to take anyone on that I can't give what I feel they deserve, what they would be paying for. So going back to that, how do we figure out a system and process that maybe we can come up with that would be able to coach people and teach them without having to take all of our time?
Yeah. And it does. It is time consuming. So I understand that. And right now, I mean, it's a lot less headache because you're able to do what you are focusing on and trying to do this and do this and do this. It's just too much. So kudos to you that you're staying focused, laser focused on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, for sure.
So I have a question for you. It talks about momhood because we haven't talked about that very much. And so I want you to imagine yourself sitting on a park bench and this 9-month pregnant woman comes up to you and she starts talking. She sits down next to you. And first time mom, what advice would you give her? And it doesn't have to be just first time, but now knowing what you know with the children that you have and raising them, what advice would you give to her?
So I think I would say always be honest with your kids because I feel like so many parents think that they can't be honest or that you can't say things in a way that your kids would understand. And I feel like I'm saying this because I've always been honest with my kids from day one and always said things in a way that, their minds could understand at their age. And because of that, I feel like I have the most amazing relationship with both of my kids. I have a son who's 16, I have a daughter who's 10, because I think there is something to that, right? Like the trust factor, even though parents think, and I'm not judging anyone once again saying this, we do certain things or tell people certain things because we want to be nice or not hurt someone's feelings. And I think that whole trust that they have with me has, like I said, they're amazing. Like, honestly, I feel so blessed in the relationship, not only we have as individuals, but the relationships they have with others, how confident they are in themselves, the self-esteem that they have, the things that I just seen, the responsibility, the independence, all these different things that I felt most teenagers or young kids do struggle with because you want to fit in. And I've just really, really seen it in my son since he's 16 and he's a little older he doesn't really care what other people think. And he is confident in himself and who he is and what he wants to do. And And that even goes with like girls and stuff. He's never had a serious girlfriend. He has dated girls, but he knows who he is and what he wants. So when things go on, he's just like, no, this is too much for me, or this isn't what I want. Or he's really into basketball. So I'm just saying he can make those decisions and he makes them on his own. And I just love seeing that confidence, I guess, and that trust factor in themselves and knowing that they're good. So that to me is the one thing I just feel like I've done different with my kids. I've just been very upfront and honest in the bad times, the good times, them watching bad times in a marriage or a relationship, and just trying to teach them like life isn't perfect and marriage definitely isn't perfect. And you're going to have hard times, and you either walk beside that person if you can through those things, or sometimes you can't and you have to walk away, you know?
No, and so I'm going to talk about my book, Flipping the Iceberg, for a second because of that. Is I did the exact same thing that a lot of times people that aren't confident, like we all have icebergs, we all have these traumas that sit in our lives, and we're not sure how to deal with them, and we might not even recognize them, but we have these triggers and we're like, okay, where did this come from? And if you think about it and analyze it and figure it out enough, you can go, oh, okay, now I understand, and you can heal yourself and move forward. And so I think that it's great. One of the things I talk about is potential and your limiting beliefs. And so it sounds like you are teaching your children of their potential and what they can accomplish, and that they don't have to sacrifice or settle for something that they really don't want, and that they deserve so much better. So that, kudos to you, hands down. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's huge what you just said, because that is something I'm constantly pushing about. What you believe is what is going to happen in your life, you know, or what it is.
Mhm.
So I just think that's great advice, because kids need that. And then the encouragement too, I think is huge. That's something I know I never had. And just feeding that positivity right into your kids, you can do this or whatever it may be, and just recognizing those little things and being very, very specific about those little things. Don't be generic.
Right.
You point that stuff out to them, because that I think builds so much in a person, in their character, when you're pointing those things out constantly to them and giving those positive affirmations.
Mhm. Oh, that's so true. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking about this, because it's something that I wish more people would know and actually have the belief. Because did you start out, just out of curiosity, did you start out with money to be able to start investing, or did you use OPM, other people's money?
So I actually saved some money because of me getting divorced and selling that house that we had remodeled. So I had some money from that, is how I started. But I realized very quickly that that money wasn't going to get me anywhere. And I had to, yeah, I was using hard money lenders and stuff, is really how I would say I got started, to be, you know, completely honest, because putting the 20, 25% down, I would have been buying like one house and that's it.
Oh, it's true. And if you can give people a small cut of the pie, but it can take you much further, why would you not? So that's great.
Yeah, it helps you scale. I mean, I don't really know. And they teach too, you should always be using other people's money. So
Mhm.
that's what a lot of people say, anyways. But I think to scale and grow, if that's what your goal is, then I think you need to.
Mhm. Yeah, 100%. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. And Unbreakable Moms, creating legacy wealth is so important, and making sure that you have passive income. And there's another way to do it. And for Tara and I, it's real estate. It's been a game changer for my life, and it sounds like it's been for yours as well. Any,
Absolutely.
anything else you would like to add before we say goodbye?
I think just the last thoughts would just be that how we talked about believing in yourself, that it doesn't matter where you come from, what you have. If you have money, you don't have money. I mean, we didn't go over it or anything in this, but I didn't come from anything at all. I wasn't taught anything at all. I didn't have any advantage, is all I want to say, over anyone else. I literally had absolutely no direction in my life. And I just went after it, to be honest. And now here we are, 50 houses later that we're holding. And, you know, we've flipped many other properties. So I just want to encourage people to realize that you can do this.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. You can do this. If you have the desire and the want and the belief and you're willing to put in the work, you can do it.
Yeah, 100%. And ask for help, ask
Mhm.
mentors. There's tons of people like us that are happy to talk about how we've done it and what we've accomplished. And so thank you for coming on and being willing to share your story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And moms, go out and make it a great day. Beautiful moms, remember, you are unbreakable. Keep illuminating the world with your strength, pursuing your dreams, and reveling in the splendor of motherhood. This is Charisse Walker, bidding you farewell for now. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mompreneurs podcast. Until then, keep shining bright. Signing off with love, Charisse Walker.